So I'm excited to be here today with Hubert West. Hubert, it's great to see you again.
Good to see you, Chip.
Yeah, Hubert was our first PE teacher and athletic director, going all the way back to 1999. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, fall of 1999.
How did you come to Trinity? What do you remember about that story?
Well, I can't remember. There was a family that lived right across the street from me from us that was at Trinity. And I think they mentioned it to, I think to you, or it was your wife.
Yep.
And then I got a call, and
Bill Kobe knew you.
Right,
from,
Bill Kobe.
His
Mr. Kobe
days
knew
as
me from his
athletic
days.
director and your time at UNC.
Right.
Yep.
And so, in fact, it was Mr. Kobe that first mentioned it to me, and that he said that he would mention it to you. So then I got a call from you, and I came over, and met with your wife, and we talked about it, and then we went back, and then came back again, and then the decision was made that I would come on staff that fall of 1999. Yeah. And the interesting thing about it was that spring I was the track and cross country coach at Culver Middle School for just that season, and then I made the decision that I was coming to Trinity. And then the day after I'd made that, I called you to let you know that I was coming aboard. The athletic director from Culver called me, wanted me to come to Culver. And I said, sorry, I'm going to Trinity.
Oh, man, I'm glad we got that deal sealed just in time.
Just in time, yeah.
That was great. Well, I mean, we were so blessed to find you as our first AD, and tell us a little bit. Not everyone knows you, and a little bit about yourself. You're a pastor. You're an athlete, a UNC athlete. Tell us just a little bit about your background.
Well, I grew up in the western part of the state, just west of Winston-Salem, a little town called Moxville, and I ran track. 2 years in high school, played football 1 year, and then after they integrated our school systems, I had never run track before, and we had a new track coach at the high school my junior year. And as I was walking down the hall after the basketball season, now Mr. Barger had sort of a gruff voice, and everybody called me Hub in high school. And so I heard this voice behind me say, "Hub, you ever thought about running track?" And I said, "No, sir." And he said, "Well, you ought to." And just walked by me and kept right on walking. So I went out for track my junior year.
He made a big impression.
Yeah, he did.
That one comment. That's good.
He did, because he had come to us from North Rowan High School, which was in Salisbury, and he had won several conference championships at North Rowan. And so then he came to Davie, and we had no track, and so my junior year I first started out long jumper, and I tell some of the kids here, I never will forget that my very first jump was 16 feet 7.5 inches. And I went up to like 21.3. And then my junior year, I was the conference champion, bi-conference champion, state champion. Well, we weren't in the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. We were in the Western North Carolina High School Athletic Association. So that was our association championship. So I was a state champion in the 220, and our team was the state champions overall. And I started following Carolina in 1967 when Coach Smith took his first team to the Final Four. And my counselor knew a doctor there in Salisbury. I was at a meet, and I was walking up through the stands after the meet was over, and the doctor said to me, "I hear you like Carolina." And I said, "I do." He said, "Well, I'll see what I can do." And that was on a Friday. And so Monday evening, I got a call from Coach Hilton. Wednesday evening, Coach Hilton was sitting in my living room, and within 2 weeks, I'd signed with Carolina.
Wow.
And because actually I didn't realize until after I'd graduated and started coaching that I was the first African-American to receive a track scholarship at UNC. Yeah. And then went all the way through UNC, lettering all 4 years, all ACC 9 times, and then started coaching, becoming the first African-American coach at UNC. And then I was named the head coach in 1981, which meant that I was the first African-American head coach of any sport at UNC and in the Atlantic Coast Conference. And so then I left there and then been in the pastorate. So since I left UNC, I've been, worked in newspaper business. I'm still in the pastorate. And then got the call about coming to Trinity.
Yeah, I remember Bill Kobe telling me about your story, and just so I'm so glad we connected, and we were so blessed to find someone of your caliber to come and start a program at Trinity. What do you remember about those early days at Trinity and the first teams that we had?
Well, the first teams that we had, they were very young teams because I remember at that first part, Trinity had not reached up to like where they were 8th grade, 7th grade.
We were just 6th, and then
right.
7th, and then 8th.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So some of those younger, earlier runners, Robbie Fisher, I think I remember his name.
Yeah.
Bill, I think his name was Roper, and of course Jenny.
Yeah, Will Roper.
And several others. And I had Joan Nesbitt actually come one day to talk with the team. And then that's when I got that jacket from and gave it to.
And you gave that jacket to Ellie Poole.
To Ellie Poole, and
that.
she just cried.
Yeah.
Right.
So we had a cross country team before we had a building, or before we really had land even, and you guys were running around Hope Creek Church, I think, right?
We'd run around Hope Creek Church, and then we would we'd run our meets we'd either go to Phillips Middle School or Culbreth in Chapel Hill. And then sometimes we would go to Durham Academy, but most of our cross country meets were at Culbreth or at Phillips.
Yep.
And so I think we may have gone. I don't think we went to McDougal, but those are the two that we mainly went to. Was those two.
And I think under your leadership, we also started basketball teams and soccer program.
We started basketball, started soccer, and actually we started a golf team also.
That's right. Yeah.
And started a golf team. And
the basketball team played at Hope Valley Baptist in the gym.
They played there.
We didn't have a space.
And the soccer team, the soccer team played at Bible Church on their field.
That's right. Yeah, I remember those games. That's right.
Yeah, we'd go over there.
In 2001, we built what's now the lower school building and the blue gym.
Right.
And that was our first home season in the basketball.
Correct.
For our basketball teams, right?
We started the first season for the basketball teams in there, and then once we got the blue gym, we started volleyball.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
And it just ballooned from there.
It sure did.
And I think it was. I think the first year, or it was either the second year, we were in the blue gym. We went over to Gorman to play, because Gorman was our arch rival.
I remember those
We were
games,
always trying to beat Gorman. Gorman would always beat up on us. And then I think Isaac Eulenberg I think he was in the 8th grade, I believe.
Yeah.
And the tournament was over at Gorman. And both the boys and the girls won the tournament that year over at Gorman. Yeah. And that was an exciting time with the kids.
I remember that.
Because we had other coaches in there challenging Isaac's his age. I said, he's just a very large young man.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, if you want me to show his birth certificate, everybody has to show theirs, because Isaac, he was just an athlete.
He was quite an athlete. He played baseball.
Right,
later.
He played baseball.
And now he's a dancer.
Really?
Yeah, he is. It's amazing. You can see him on YouTube, I think.
Oh, wow.
And I hear you have a story about my daughter, too. Is that right?
Yes, we were over at Durham Academy, and Jenny was running the mile, and she had been sick the night before. And I realized something was a little off in the first lap, and I would go over head to the track to ask her what was going on, and she would just look at me. And then I realized then someone told me that she'd been sick, so I was going to pull her out of the race. So I would wait till she would come off the top of the turn, and I would walk to the track to say, Jenny, you need to come up. Every time I would walk to the track, she'd go out to lane 6 and keep right on running. Yeah, so she was determined that she was going to finish that race. And then she finished it, and she sort of collapsed, but she said, I just wanted to finish. Because I think her granddad was there at the race, and she wanted to finish it for him.
Yeah, that's
But
great.
yeah, she was avoiding me. She did not want to come out of that race.
Well, those were good years. They were really formative years.
Yes, they were.
I want to thank you for your leadership and for the athletic reputation that you brought to Trinity, and also the spiritual depth that you brought. One of my favorite memories, Hubert, of you is always liked to sidle up to a team where you were talking with them before the race or before the game, and then you prayed with them.
Mm-hmm.
You remember those times?
I remember those times.
I just loved hearing you pray, and the way you would talk to those kids, it was so inspiring. And so thank you for your leadership.
Mm-hmm. And with those teams, those cross-country teams, I remember that our model scripture for them, I would always recite Isaiah 40:31 for them.
Oh, that's great.
They that run, they will not get weary and faint, and they were just excited about that. And I think Sarah is still.
That's right, Sarah Larson.
Right, she was my assistant all those years, and
she is coaching track now.
Right.
Yeah, as our coach.
Right.
So yeah,
and she did a fantastic job working with them also.
Yeah. Well, your legacy lives on, and the Trinity Athletic Program has grown and has strengthened. And so, thank you for what you did.
Yeah, you're quite welcome. I try to keep up with it. I'll go to the website and try to look at the schedule and see how things are going with it. And I ride by there every now and then, and I just say, "Wow."
When you come see us sometime, we'd love to show you around again. It's grown some, as you know, and. The team had a great fall season. The teams did. We're third in the Wells Fargo Cup, which is the state in our division. So that's wonderful. So.
Are you still in like the private school?
We are in the North Carolina Independent School Athletic Association, and there are four. We're 2A.
Oh, okay.
They do it by the size of the upper school.
Right.
We have 190 upper schoolers. When we get 200, then we'll go to B3A.
To the 3A.
Yeah.
Now, it's because I remember when we first started, it was like Cary Christian, but I think Bethesda Christian.
Yeah, some of those schools only have up through 8th grade. So now so we play teams like Trinity Academy, and we play the O'Neill School and Burlington Christian. So these are some of the schools that we play, and we also play a lot of non-conference games too. So we always enjoy that Durham Academy rivalry.
Oh
every
yes,
year. Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh yes,
So,
that was, and we sort of forged a rivalry with Cary Academy.
Yeah.
I think when we first started doing the track, we would go Cary Academy, Ravenscroft. Another funny story about that was, I believe it was Ravenscroft. We had a point where we had to use 5th graders
Right.
to fill out teams.
Right.
And so as I started contacting, athletic directors and letting them know that we possibly be running 5th graders, because I had to do that to fill out the team, this one particular athletic director, I think it was Ravenscroft, I believe, told me, he said, "Well, if you run 5th graders, I'm not going to run against you." So I didn't tell him. And one of the young men, he was a 5th grader, and he turned out to be one of the top runners. And we were running against. The meet was at Trinity, and the team we were running had some pretty good runners. And he came up to me and asked me. He was a tall, lanky 5th grader, and he went on to play a very good basketball player at Trinity. And he said, "Coach," he said, "are those 8th graders?" And I said, "Yeah, they're mostly 8th graders." He said, "What am I going to do?" I said, "Beat them." And he did.
He did, yeah.
He did. And when we won that, I think it was over at Cary Academy. No, it was at Phillips. And it was a close race for the young ladies. And it came down, I think we won the meet by 1 point. And that was the first time that we won across me, and they were so excited. Yeah. And then we won 2 or 3 others after that. Yeah. And
well, Hubert, thank you for visiting with me today, and thank you for your leadership at Trinity School and what you've done for us.
I appreciate it and appreciate the opportunity, and I'm just so thankful that I had that opportunity and to see where Trinity is today and where it's going.
Yeah, the Lord's been very good to us. So
Amen.
Thank you.
All right.
Non nobis.